We are doing Obama on Osama death. Remember to go vote in the comments. And I've realized that I forgot to put to vote on what to vote on Tuesday. And I apologize for that. I'll just pick one of the other Patreon requests to put in there for next Tuesday. I'll remember today for the request and what to vote on. As for yesterday, I put out a survivor for ritual abuse. And just to recap on it, for those of you who didn't read the description, Patreon will have 10 videos up at a time in its line. And then as it reaches, the next one comes in, the oldest one will be taken off and will not be available anymore. And we'll go into a little safe for me on the days that I just don't have time. So there's no guarantee of when it will be played or if it will be played anytime soon. It could be 10 months down the road for all I know. But it will eventually come out on YouTube. So let's get started.
There you are.
Here I am, sitting right here.
That's an intense look on your face.
I find it hilarious. He's in the corner, and I thought this was hilarious when this photo first came out those years ago. He's in the corner. I mean, he's literally in the corner. This guy looks like he's got higher rank than Obama in this room. It's pretty clear that this one, Biden, Hillary, and I know this man, but his name escapes me right now. And this guy all have higher rank than the guy in the corner, even being placed. And we know this photo is placed.
And everyone is intently watching that screen.
This is, if I'm not mistaken, Pete, this picture was taken right as the helicopter was having some problems. But you may not remember.
I can't say for sure.
He looked down on that, but he didn't access memory. It was pretty much straight down, avoiding eye contact. I'm not sure. Get old Pete.
That's what it feels like, because I remember Hillary putting her hand over her mouth at that point.
Yeah, because
when you look at it,
yeah,
what does it conjure up inside you?
Well, that's the way I usually look when my husband drags me to an action movie. It was just an extraordinary experience and a great privilege to be part of.
Didn't access memory once.
Just an extraordinary experience and a great privilege to be part of.
But she did do something interesting. She started over here and rolled down. That is a classic sign of deception. You look left to right or right to left, and this is kind of where it comes from. But as you notice, the wording that she's using is not an out-and-out lie. The experience is what she's referring to. The experience of putting this together, the experience of sitting in the room and taking the picture, that's what she's referring to. So she's not talking about whether it was fabricated or not. She is just speaking on the experience. And what is that saying as she takes it from this area of the eye and rolls it down? She's doing the emotional avoidance. Something emotional in there is being avoided. And it's, how should we say, it touches on shame. Also hits on fear. And it escapes me for this other emotion that I cannot articulate right now. But it's the one I think she's displaying. It's not shame. It's not necessarily fear. It's kind of a mix of all of it. Oh, I can't think of the word for it. But that's what she's doing.
Part of.
When you see it now, what comes back?
We were all just really.
All just really. And he takes that head. Sling that head.
What comes back?
We were all just really.
Swinging that head. Sling, sling, sling. Throw it. Creepy Joe. Digging into that rhetoric.
Concentrating. Our entire.
Concentrating. And he's digging into it. Chin down. Eyes directly at interviewer.
Focus was on listening to the play-by-play.
Biggest national security priority.
The focus for this
Believe me, look. Right off the bat.
Administration was on getting bin Laden. That was a piece of unfinished business that went to the honor as well as the security of our country.
And squinching those eyes. Now, for those of you who are new, the believe me look does not necessarily mean deception. It means you're trying to get the person you're talking to believe what you're saying. So you could be telling the truth and you could have the believe me look on because you're trying to get them to believe what you're saying. Or you could be deceptive, lying, and you could be giving the believe me look to get them to believe your lie. Believe me look also looks like the emphasis look, but the difference is the believe me look, it stays up for a very extended amount of time, where the emphasis, it goes up on certain words and your eyebrows go up and down as it emphasizes.
Information, and when they began to get a more of a sense that maybe there was something there. At first, it was only within the White House. I was brought in January, and then we began.
Also, watching her now, her body does not move with her while she's talking about this. So she's being deceptive there. Her body does not agree.
These intensive meetings.
Bill McRaven, the head of Special Forces, had worked with us for months to think through every possible scenario. He's a guy who inspires a lot of confidence, and he's a no-nonsense guy.
I remember the
Now, I want you to see also what they're doing, because they've done this to the American population for decades. You had a short segment of Obama talking, and now we're having a short, I guarantee you this is a short segment of this one talking.
moment in the sit room, someone said, well,
You don't see her face, you see, what do we call this? Propaganda one?
this sounds really dangerous, that we're going to expose our guys, and what do we...
Acting. I can imagine why they put it more on her. She just loves that acting.
this sounds really dangerous, that we're going to expose...
She's moving that head fast, fast. Body doesn't want to move with her. Deceptive.
Our guys, and what do we know is going to happen? And he said, well, with all due respect, we've done this hundreds of times.
The planning picked up speed, and by April 20th...
And now they go back that short little segment of her, and now we're into this segment. And it's going to be propaganda number 1. That's his name. Giving you the story. And not so much as the other people talking.
You were against this mission as they launched it, correct?
Well, as I pointed out early on, there was no consensus. The president got us all down in the Situation Room, and he said, okay, basically roll call.
What was...
And this is why we really can't do this. Do you see how short these segments are? They're so tiny. And the little bit that we get, it's portraying, acting, and out deception.
As I pointed out early on,
He's not even accessing memory as he talks about this. He's looking down, avoiding eye contact, thinking.
there was no consensus. The president got us all down in the Situation Room, and he said,
Deep breath. And that's the shorts that we get. And I think, obviously the camera people knew what they were doing, these cuts in and out, taking segments and having propagandists telling you the story. Because these people, if left alone to tell the story, would not do a very good job at it.
okay, basically roll call.
What was your vote?
My recommendation was to go forward.
And
This guy, my recommendation was to go forward. Now, this is when we sit there and we have these words that they use and their body is reacting to. Your recommendation was to go forward. But he doesn't say go forward on what. He doesn't say my recommendation was to go forward on getting Osama bin Laden. He doesn't say that. He keeps it very short and concise to where you can infer anything on going forward with what. But he's looking at the interviewer and the camera in a sideways. It's almost an avoidance. He doesn't really want to give the full attention to the camera and the interviewer, Mr. Propagandist.
why would you recommend that over others in the group?
I felt the risk was manageable. The evidence to me was compelling enough to take the risk. I thought that we could get him in and get him out no matter what.
He doesn't access memory.
Members of your team, there was not consensus.
It was never contentious because I think everybody understood both the pros and the cons of action. There were doubts that were voiced inside the Situation Room, but they weren't doubts that were going through my own head. People who are advocating action understood that if this did not work, if
Now, he accesses memory a lot, which is why he looks so trustworthy. One of these days, I'm going to get to Valerie Jarrett and some others because, to be honest with you, I don't think this puppet had much say in much of anything. I know right now there's a whole lot of talk that he is leading the fight against the Trump campaign, but we'll get into that in another video. So anyways, he's making and referring back to memory.
we've proved to be wrong, there would be severe geopolitical consequences, and obviously, most importantly, we might be putting our brave Navy SEALs in danger.
At the meeting,
If this did not work, but they weren't doubts that were going through my own head. People who are advocating action understood that if this did not work, we've proved to be wrong, there would be severe geopolitical consequences, and obviously, most importantly, we might be putting our brave Navy SEALs in danger.
So he accesses memory there, but he accesses it to recall the Navy SEALs. I'm talking about this. Who am I putting in danger? Navy SEALs. That kind of memory is being accessed. We do kind of see that. And one of these days we'll do a video on actors and watch them acting. A one where they're...
The Correspondents' Dinner was a different story. That was a little bit of acting going on there because...
Oh my gosh, that was so telling right there. There's a little bit of acting going on. And his body literally swayed with that, just like, oh wow, we get to move. It's like, oh, I don't have to pretend anymore. I could admit I'm acting.
my mind was elsewhere.
And that's all I can say about this. I think it's pretty obvious, at least to me when I watched them, that this whole thing was contrived, staged, acted out, and rehearsed. And when I see that, I instantly think it's not real. So that is why I say it's pretty obvious. Some other people have done some really good investigating as far as talking to people in the ship where Osama was apparently buried out to sea. If you liked it, leave a like. If you liked the content, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.